Hegde with us, and also Srimati Kanaka and Sri Ganeshanji as guests of honor. Just a few words about this wonderful couple. They are long-time associates of Meditation and Study Circle. They have been coming and attending satsangs right from the time that Sri Krishnamurti ji and Rukmini ji were alive and conducting the satsangs. So their association goes back to being having a close relationship with both of them, the founders of Meditation and Study Circle. They were here in Jainagar 9th block, and they used to be attending the satsangs regularly. Now they have moved to Nisarga layout a little after Bannerghatta National Park in Jigni. So just a few words of introducing both of them, apart from being the senior satsangis at Meditation and Study Circle. Srimati Kanaka is a former teacher. She was teaching in high school and middle school in Mumbai as well as in Abu Dhabi. She's done a lot of sadhana herself. She practices, both of them, Ganeshanji and Kanakaji, practice transcendental meditation, Maharshi Mahesh Yogi's TM, and both of them are very active in Nisarga layout. Srimati Kanaka handles classes, Bhagavad Gita classes for young children now online at Nisarga, from Nisarga layout even today. And both of them are ardent supporters of Meditation and Study Circle. Ganeshanji is an electrical engineer by qualification. He has a vast experience, having worked in Tata Electric Company in Mumbai, and also later on in Abu Dhabi in electrical engineering. He is very active, and even in Nisarga layout, he is doing some wonderful social service, being one of the primary trustees of the Owners Association, taking care of maintenance and other aspects of the layout. One of the most wonderful things about this couple is they are very jolly and very helpful. And if any couple in this group will take away made for each other prize, it will be Ganeshanji and Kanakaji. So may we request you to now share your experiences and address the gathering for a few minutes, both of you, please. Over to you.
Namaste, Srimati Vani and Sri Vasu.
Namaste.
Dr. Hegde ji, the speaker of the day, and all the participants. We are indeed deeply indebted to Sri Krishnamurti ji and Rukmini ji for sharing their wisdom and laying the foundation of our spiritual growth. You can talk.
Yeah. Namaste. Generally, I talk very less, but today I will talk something. It's rather difficult to talk about our Guru Krishnamurti ji, a beacon of light, in a few words. He had a unique personality. He was diligent, disciplined, simple, and unassuming. He was an embodiment of punctuality, regularity, meticulous in all aspects, and adhered to his principles with precision. See, in the year 1999, we came across Meditation and Study Circle when they arranged the 20th years anniversary celebrations at SSRMB College, Bangalore. It was a divine intervention. After attending the lectures, we were regular in attending lectures arranged by them on Mondays and Tuesdays. Krishnamurti ji tirelessly used to arrange lectures, one-day retreat and week-long retreats. His lecture series now on meditation, Pranava Mantra Om and Gayatri Mantra have gone deep into our system, and it is an asset for us all along. We were fortunate to have attended week-long retreats at Chittoor, Ooty, Murudeshwar, and the School of Ancient Wisdom. Mr. Krishnamurti ji and Mrs. Krishnamurti have written a lot of books which were quite a source of inspiration for us, and it has helped us quite a lot in our spiritual growth. I would like to, some of the statements of Krishnamurti ji ring in my mind all the time. I would like to quote a few of them. Atma addressing Paramatma. Man is internally suffocated and externally sophisticated. Mutational jump to higher levels of consciousness. Transactional memory, psychological memory. The description is not the described. See, these type of statements took us very easily from the gross level of thinking to subtle level. And to add to that, in the recent lecture series by Vaniji on Saddarshanam, she brought out a valid point that our mind is 99% occupied with the outward activities and 1% in the internal silence. Meditation and study circle embraces this 1%, tries to enhance the validity of this, and tries to infuse this state of internal silence into our daily activities by arranging frequent lectures in English and Kannada. Thank you.
To continue with what has been already said, I would like to say that humility and honesty were the hallmarks of Sri Krishnamurti ji. His dedication to guide spiritual speakers was foremost, and his care and concern for everybody alike was extraordinary. I quote an instance. In one of the retreats, he told me, please take care of yourself and keep yourself warm, because I know this cold will affect your health. These words of fatherly affection gave me real warmth. Madam Rukmani ji had an amazingly strong willpower. She was very independent, and she never expected help from others. And courage was her plus point, her asset. I remember an incident when Sri Krishnamurti ji had left his mortal coil, and we had gone to pay our homage to him. I became very emotional, and it was Rukmini ji who calmly consoled me, saying, "Why do you cry? He has only left his body. Don't you know that the soul is eternal and immortal?" This was her caliber. Later, after Sir, she took over as the director of Meditation and Study Circle. Sir would jokingly say that in Meditation and Study Circle, there is no involvement of funds, bank accounts, etc. What I have is only the small tape recorder, which I use for chanting Om. Very, very easy to wind up if required. But that did not happen. And even today, Vani and Vasu are taken the reins, and they are continuing the legacy of her parents in a splendid way. Then I have so many fond memories being close to them. We used to visit Sir and Madam on Vijayadashmi Day to pay our respects and receive their priceless blessings. Then during the retreats, besides the lectures, the morning silent retreats, morning silent meditative walks led by Sir would be very effective. And he gave so much importance to silence that after the lectures in the dining hall, with folded hands, he would appeal to keep silence. That was his nature. And then also, both of them would, with childlike enthusiasm, they would enjoy the entertainment program of the participants at night. They also conducted a memorable one-day retreat in Nisarga layout where we reside. And we are very blessed when we remember that Sir graced the Griha Pravesham of this house, which was designed by none other than Vani. Vani and Vasu, we thank you for giving this opportunity to express our gratitude to Sri Krishnamurti ji and Srimati Rukmini ji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kanakaji and Ganeshan ji. We also would like to offer our Pushpa Vrishti claps to the wonderful couple. So we come to the talk now. While we begin, while I introduce, I request Sri Raghunatha NV to stop presenting. We see that Sri Raghunatha is presenting the screen. Please stop presenting, click on stop button. Otherwise, Dr. Thimappa Hegde will not be able to present. Mr. Raghunatha, are you able to hear me?
It's Ranganatha, Mr. Ranganatha.
NV Ranganatha, please stop presenting. Click on the stop button. I think he's accidentally clicked on the present button to join instead of the join button. If you're not able to, unfortunately, we will have to remove you from the meeting, which we do not want to. All right, so it's a very great fortune for us to have Dr. Thimappa Hegde with us today. Welcome, sir, once again, and welcome to all the satsangis for today. Dr. Thimappa Hegde has been a long-time speaker at Meditation and Study Circle. He did a series for a year on Bhagavad Gita at SSMRV College, very meticulously every month. So he is no stranger to Meditation and Study Circle. However, for those who are coming today for the first time, I would like to just briefly mention a few words to introduce him and hand over the platform to him for sharing his wisdom. Dr. Thimappa Hegde is a very well-known neurosurgeon, both in India and abroad. He has done his master's in NIMHANS, a very prestigious institute, and then worked there for quite a few years till 2003, where he started many new procedures, instrumental in starting many new procedures. Then after that, in 2004, he became the founder director of Narayana Institute of Neurosciences, which is a very well-known institute. Dr. Thimappa Hegde has performed thousands of surgeries in neurosurgeries, a very, very intricate hand. And I must say, at the same time, in spite of being so very well known and so popular, he is very humble, very simple, and talks to his patients as people, giving them the confidence of healing. I say this from my own personal experience, where my mother was the beneficiary by way of consulting him and undergoing a spinal surgery. So it's a wonderful comfort for people who approach Dr. Thimappa Hegde even as a doctor. Apart from that, he's a great karma yogi. In spite of his busy schedules, he conducts Gita classes at his house every week. And he also conducts Upanishads and Veda classes and today online, there are many doctors who are influenced and attend his classes. Such is his influence not only in the medical fraternity, but also outside. Now, as you listen to him, you will see that you will gradually be involved in, and he will take you through his wave of vibrations, through his gentle speaking, but yet very deep thinking. Today, Dr. Thimappa Hegde is going to speak on a very intriguing topic, from MBBS to MJBS. From MBBS to MJBS, we request Dr. Thimappa Hegde to give us the benefit of his sharing of the wisdom on this topic.
Thank you, Vani and Vasudev. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. And is my screen on? Are you able to see the screen?
No, doctor, we can't. We're only seeing you.
Okay. I'll try again to get the screen share. I've tried it. How do I get my...
You have to present on the right bottom side, sir.
I know, I've pressed that on. But then the share button is not opening up. Just give me a moment again. Yeah. I don't see my screen at all. Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it is coming up, sir. Just in a minute.
Yes.
All right. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I'm grateful again to Vani and Vasudev for this invitation. Greetings to Mrs. Kanaka and Shri Ganeshan, and to all those who have joined this meeting with a level of trust. You do not know what you are in for. I have just put a certain amount of letters, but still you have come with a certain amount of trust that there is some stuff in all this. Om Akhanda Mandala Karam Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Profound gratefulness to all the gurus. Because of them, I have some material to share for all of you. Before I explain the title itself, let us go back to the story of Gautama Buddha. Gautama Buddha led a very protected life. His life was so protected because his father was told by astrologers that your son is going to become a bhikkhu, a beggar, a mendicant. And he didn't want that to happen. So he protected him from all the negative things. And one day, this famous chariot ride happened when he began to see things which he had never seen before. He saw an old person, a sick person, a dead body, and then he saw a monk. So these were the three things that he saw, and it shook him. And the big question was, I have all the luxuries in the world. And he asked his charioteer, can this happen to me too? And the answer was, yes, it can happen to everybody. And suddenly he went into a contemplation. Then he asked this person, this man in that saffron dress, who is this person? So he says this person is a person in search of a greater meaning for life. So that night was a day of contemplation, because he had all the luxury in the world, but suddenly he was full of meaninglessness. And we know the story. He took one last look at his wife and child and asked the same charioteer to drive him off from the palace. He says, I have peace here. There is no meaning for me here. Let me discover meaning. Then the story goes, after 7 years of intense search and torture, he became enlightened. That was in Bodh Gaya. And then he traveled to this place where you can see this big monument called the Damek Stupa. This is in Sarnath, very close to Varanasi. In fact, it is part of Varanasi now, where his Guru Bhais were there. And he comes to them and he gives them the first sermon. This whole theme is about on the festival of awareness. So I thought I will begin with awareness. Whenever there is enlightenment, there is awareness. There is a deep sensitivity to the present moment. As we are listening, become sensitive to the person who's listening, to the background you are in, and you can constantly shift from whatever you can see to whatever you are listening. And his fellow monks, the Guru Bhais, were very clear that there was something extraordinary about Buddha. And they asked him, what does it mean to be enlightened? And Ashoka has put up this monument where Buddha made his first speech. And he said, "Oh monks, you know what it is to be enlightened." He says, "When I take a big breath, I know I have taken a big breath. When I take a small breath," he says, "I know I have taken a small breath. And when I take a medium-sized breath," he says, "I know I have taken a medium-sized breath." Let us correlate enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment, with a deep sense of personal awareness. The more you become aware to the here and now, because enlightenment happens only in the now. And if I am 100% here and now, then that is where we need to work on. He then shared what is called the Four Noble Truths. So one of the wisest men discovered few things, which we will all agree, that this world is full of suffering. The word in Pali was dukkha. Dukkha is part of samsara. And then he analyzed, why are we in dukkha? Because we are not happy with whatever we have. We want something more. Our mind is full of desire. Our mind is full of attachment. The real problem is more than physical problem. It is the psychological problem of dukkha, which is mental. And mental problems are primarily because of desire and attachment. And he says the whole process of enlightenment is to be able to see whatever that enlightenment that you're looking for, can it help me to overcome desire? Can it help me to overcome attachment? We know every time we say a mantra, we say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti 3 times. Why do we say Shanti 3 times? Because these are the 3 tapas. Traya means 3. There are 3 forms of troubles in our life. They can be classified as Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, and Adhyatmika. Adi Daivika, whenever there is that glacier burst which suddenly swept off so many people, an earthquake, cyclones, natural disasters, which we say is the hand of God. So when trouble comes, or even this great pandemic that is going on affecting the entire world, comes under Adi Daivika. Adi Bhautika is disturbances or the tapa that comes from the world around me. If I'm working in an environment which is very noisy, which is not conducive, it's very hot or very cold, or something, there are a lot of mosquitoes, the environment is not good. So the trouble that can come from the world around you comes classified as Adi Bhautika. Then closer to me is my body. My body may not be well. Worse still, my mind may be disturbed. So if you can analyze, all of us are afflicted at some stage or the other by the Tapa Traya. So I'm trying to come to analysis of what is this MBBS. What is MBBS? If you look into our lives, we are afflicted by this disease called MBBS. If you see, our lives are so cyclical. It is like the clock. It is so repetitious. Every day we have the same thing to do. You may be one of the most highly qualified doctors. You may be in any profession, but you will see your lives are so repetitive. We do every day the same thing repeatedly. And when it happens again and again, then a few things can happen unless you find something more. The first is life becomes meaningless. Why? Like what happened to Gautama Buddha, if you really look into our lives, it can become meaningless. Second is when it is so repetitive, it is boring. Third is it can be very burdensome. And then you will see this is ongoing. And then you realize my body is going to get old, and what happens to others, my body will fall sick. And so these are the thoughts that can happen in one life of ours. Now, how do? We have a lot of intelligence. The Vedas talk of Purusharthas. The primary Purushartha that we work on are the Artha Purushartha. We feel if I have wealth, I can solve the problems. And if I have wealth, then I would like to fulfill so many things. So these are the Purushartha that we work off. And when we work for any of these Purusharthas, we see there are certain limitations. Now, whatever I want in life is mixed with sorrow. If there is some goal, let me see if it's a lofty goal. I want a very important position. Take, for example, a sports person wanting to be number one in cricket or in tennis. Now, if you want to be the first number one in the world, you struggle for years to come to that position. You may get it, but even when you get it, you have to struggle to maintain that position. And you know, the most successful ones will have to vacate at some time. So all our efforts in life are dukkha mishrita. Second is called atripti karatvam. You will see, whenever you achieve something that you always wanted, you have got it. But after some time, you will see, it could be better still. Look at your own, whatever you have earned in your life. You would have made a lot of money, but then if you look at your balances, you will see if there's 1 0 extra, then it would be much better. So you will see it is atripti karatvam. How much ever you have, you feel a few more zeros would have had more fulfillment. And then there is the problem of bandhakatvam. Bandhakatvam means, without this, I cannot be happy. And I know one day, whether I like it or not, all the good things will be taken away. My health, my family, and my possessions, either I go away from them or it may go away from me. And therefore, the thought that without him or her, without this or that, without this situation or that situation, life becomes meaningless. And therefore, these are the other tapas that can afflict us. There is this very beautiful mantra. Vasudev, is my audio heard? Is it heard or not heard? Not heard, no?
Heard, sir. We can hear.
We can hear.
I'll just play it for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
I put this on for a long time so that this message can grow in as deeply as possible, because Adi Shankara in the Bhaja Govindam song has called it Moha Mudgara. That means all our delusions are going to be hammered on through these words of the Bhaja Govindam. What does this say? Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Being born again, being dying again. Again and again, this is going to happen. Now, in the last line, I have put sleep. How many times we have gone to sleep? How many times we have woken up? We know how many times I've slept and got up, but we do not know how many times we have died and how many times we have been born again. And even if the whole world will come to an end in Pralaya, it is said all our karmas will remain in a seed form and it will come back again. Now, there is another line, Punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Jatare means in the womb, shayanam means coming back and sleeping in the womb. After all this, do you want to go back to that womb and go back through your ABC and all that you have gone through? And if you see, at some stage we have to say, enough is enough. I have put the picture of the London Eye. Those of you who've been to one of these places where you have these huge giant wheels, you will see it is built in such a way that it never stops. It just goes on and on and on. And there are few people to help you when you get in, because it is still moving very slowly. You enter and then it goes on and on. And that's how our life is. And if we do not do something about it, the cycle will continue and continue. And that is what Buddha says. That is what all Vedanta says. And at some stage in your life, if you're not fed up, somebody has said, if you always do, you will always get what you always, if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. And therefore, if you want to get out of the cycle, we have to do something. What is that we have to do? Sometimes in life, we come across certain chances, and I will tell you what are the chances that happened in my life. When Narayana Tradalia opened a new center at the Chinmaya Mission Hospital, I was requested to conduct a weekly outpatient service at Chinmaya Mission Hospital. And my attraction there was to go across the road to see Chinmaya Mission, the bookstall. And once in a while, I would meet Swami Brahmananda Ji. And Swami Brahmananda Ji actually inaugurated our services. And he requested me to speak at one of the Gita Jnana Yajna that was going to happen. At that time, I realized I knew nothing about the Bhagavad Gita. I knew nothing about Vedanta itself. Around that time, Swami Tejo Mayananda's talks on the Upanishads were released, and somebody there showed me the new one, and I bought it. It so happened that, our life goes on. We have no time to listen to all this. But around that time, I had a chance to travel abroad. It was to Oman, and it was in the city of Muscat. Whatever assignment I had was very brief. It was a nice hotel. I had to conduct a few classes, but the participants were more interested in free time. So I had much more free time. And that free time I was alone, and I could listen for the first time about these Upanishads. And suddenly my eyes woke up to the world of the Upanishads. I realized the real treasure was here. Although I understood little, but what I did was I said, this, I have to expose it to my family. And my little class was making a little class of whatever I understood for my family and my sister's family. And slowly it grew into a small group. Although my exposure to the Upanishads was just nothing, listening to these audios itself, but through these classes and through very intense working on these notes, we would transcribe the notes. Suddenly these words of the Upanishads became meaningful. There is one Upanishad which Swami Tejo Mayananda speaks so beautifully about, is the Mundaka Upanishad. The Mundaka Upanishad has got a few pictures. One is the two-bird example. Second is the question of what is that knowing which everything becomes known. And this fascinated, is there something like that? Knowing something, if you know that, everything becomes known. And then there was another beautiful example, I think of the spider example or bow and arrow example. There were three examples that he spoke of. I think the bow and arrow example, which he spoke of. And but there is this beautiful verse. Let me chant this verse. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedyam ayat nasti akrit kritena tat vignartham sa gurumeva abhigachet samit pani shrotriya brahmanishta. Now, this is a transitional verse meaningful for a person who has seen there is a lot of suffering in the world. Whatever you do, you cannot attain to, you will realize what you really want is the infinite. The finite can never give you fulfillment. Pariksha lokan, if you have examined this world, Brahmana here means a wise person. If you wisely examine your life, one thing is very clear. You attain to a sense of nirvedyam, of frustration. I told you, dukkha mishrita bandhakatvam and atripti karatvam. This world cannot give me purnatvam. The same line says, nasti akrita kritena. Kritena means through my finite efforts. By doing more and more and more, I cannot attain the infinite. And when I know that I cannot attain to the infinite through the finite effort, then what do? I know there are people who have attained. Those are the gurus. And what kind of gurus? Shotriya Brahmanishta. Brahmanishta is one who is anchored into the Brahman. And a Shrotriya is one who has the ability to communicate. And then you realize that if you approach these people, and that is where the journey took a U-turn. And let us see how the Vedanta, how the Upanishads have the same answer to the problem what Gautama Buddha brought out, that this world is full of suffering. The cause of suffering is desire and attachment. And let us see how Vedanta has an answer to the problem of overcoming desire and overcoming attachment. Swami Anubhavananda ji, one of our teachers, has said, if you look into your life and see where do we get most of our problems, and he says, whatever you give a lot of importance to. If you give a lot of importance to insecurity or financial insecurity, then that can become the problem. If you give importance to love or the people whom you love in your life, that means wherever there is love, there is a sense of bondage. That means without him or without her, my life is incomplete. So wherever you give importance to, you give importance to punctuality, you give importance to cleanliness, that can be the source of all misery in your life. Now, how can I not give importance? That becomes a problem. We've always been trained to value punctuality, value all the good things in life, all the relationships, how people. Now, without them, now here we are in a conflict. All these people that I value, all the situations that I value are important to me. And without them, my life is incomplete. And Swamiji very clearly say, if you give importance to all these, that what you give importance to is the source of all the misery in your life. Now again, another dilemma, and let us look into the world of the Upanishads to see how they give an answer. So this is a journey, and this is not an instant journey. Even Gautama Buddha took years and years of intense sadhana. There is a certain sadhana which helps a person to achieve to sadhyam. And what is the process? For a spiritual journey, the first thing is yogyata, eligibility. Just like if a person wants to do engineering, he needs to finish schooling and +2. He cannot do engineering without that. It's so too with a person who wants to do medicine. If a person wants to do surgery, then of course we say you will have to come with an MBBS degree. Only then we can train you to become a surgeon. So the first thing in any journey, in any quest is, do I have the eligibility? Do I have the yogyata? And yogyata is also very, very important. And I'll tell you, the spiritual journey is no ordinary journey. I remember our trip to Kailash, the amount of preparation that we did for one trip. And for a one trip to a mountainous place, if you make such an amount of preparation, then for a journey of a lifetime, what kind of preparation is required? So preparation is very important. First is yogyata. Second is jnana prapti. I need to go to someone, because this will not come by myself. You know, sitting and reading books is not the way to get jnanam as per our traditions. You will make more mistakes. You have to receive it from a person who has the ability to give and who has to give. And even when a person gives you that knowledge, now that knowledge you have to carry with you over a period of time. That is where this meditation and study circle become important. Once the knowledge is given, then we meditate over it. You mull over it. It is like adding a sweetener to your coffee or your drink. But you drink it, it is not sweet. Why? Because it has not reached every part of it. Unless this knowledge has reached every part of me, I do not attain to what is called jnana nishta. So how do we get all these? The first is called the certain qualifications. There are certain qualifications that we require. I need a sense of time. How much more time do I have?
7:11. You still have 45 minutes.
Up to 10 minutes to 8, sir. You can continue.
All right, I'll just keep my timer on.
Okay, thank
What
you.
are the qualifications required? The first qualification for a spiritual journal is called viveka. Viveka means to discriminate. Now, if I had to classify discrimination, I will classify discrimination into 3 types. The first is called sat asat viveka. The second is called Drik Drishya Viveka, and the third is called Sukha Dukkha Viveka. What is Sat Asat Viveka? Sat means, according to Vedanta, that is why unless we go through all these Vedantic terminologies, these things, Sat means that which is present in all three periods of time. Now this world is tangible and real for me now. What happens when I go to sleep? The world disappears during sleep. That means there is something that comes and goes. Whatever comes and goes, Vedanta says, don't give too much importance, because that is not there in all three periods of time. But I was there in my waking state, I'm there in my sleep, because when I wake up, I know I have slept well. There is something in me which is constant all through my waking, dream, and deep sleep phase. That which is constant all the time is called Sat, and that which comes and goes is called Asat. So the first Viveka is called Sat Asat Viveka, and Vedanta helps you to anchor into that which is the real you, which is there in all three periods of time. Compared to the world around you, give less importance to that. Second, Vedanta says, look at what is called Drik Drishya Viveka. Drik means I am the seer. The world around me is an object of my experience. Now, I'll come to it a little later. Whatever I see and experience according to Vedanta is of a lower order of reality compared to the one who is seeing. Now I can see my body. They say devalue your body because your body is also an object of experience. I can see my mind. I'm trying to explain few things. My mind is also an object of experience. Therefore, whatever is an object of experience comes under a lower order of your reality. Don't give too much importance. Give more importance to the one who's listening in you, the one who's speaking in me, and that is called Drik Drishya Viveka. The third is called Sukha Dukkha Viveka. What is Dukkha? Any form of limitations. I have only this much money. I have only this much time. I have Dukkha. I have unlimited money. I have unlimited time. I have Ananda. So anything in the world that is finite is dukkha. The infinite gives ananda. Viveka is moving on to sat, to chit, to ananda. And the teachers will tell you, give more importance to that. And that is the first level, have viveka. Second is called vairagya. Vairagya means whatever is an object of my experience, whatever comes and goes, don't give too much importance to that. That means I have to give less and less importance to the world around me, give more and more importance to the real me. Third and very important, and I've underlined this. This is called mumukshutva. Mumukshutva means intense desire to get out of this perennial cycle of birth and death. I don't want to go back to that womb again, period. And if that is very clear, there are teachers who will say, yes, I have an answer for you. Don't worry. You have come to the right place at the right time. The teachers give you that amount of confidence. So that means they say, in this life itself, if you are able to follow their guidelines, you will be able to discover that which is worth discovering. And finally, they will tell you there are certain disciplines, like even if you're going into a military school, if you're going anywhere, even into a neurosurgical residency or medical training, the first few years are a rigorous amount of discipline. Because unless there are a certain amount of discipline in you, you don't have the required qualifications. And the question is, how do I get all this? How do I get jnana yogyata? And the teachers will say, whatever karma you do, all of us have to do certain karmas in our daily life. They say, can you make your karma a yoga? Can you make your work into worship? Spend few years doing whatever you do. Karma yoga is two things, Ishvara Arpana Bhava and Prasada Bhava. Whatever I do it as an offering to God. Whatever remuneration, I take it as Prasada. I spend more time in sattvic activity. That becomes Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga over a period of time gives me Jnana Yogyata. I need to work on my mind also. That is why various techniques of meditations, various forms of mantra japa, mantra parayanam, They help me, that is called Upasana Yoga. They help me to get Jnana Yogyata. The next is go to a teacher. Yesterday we heard Swami Chidananda ji. Now, people like him are the teachers who are the repositories of spiritual wisdom. With trust, with Shraddha, when you go to a teacher, even though the teacher says some things which are difficult to believe, you should only say it is my limitations of my understanding, but whatever he's saying, whatever the scriptures are saying is gospel truth. So I go to a teacher with Shraddha, I listen to whatever the teacher says. But the teacher will say something impossible. The teacher says, you are Brahman and the world is not so real. That's what Vedanta says. Impossible to digest. But so that is called manana. You clarify your doubts. You clarify with your colleagues. You know what the teacher says, I could not understand. Or if the teacher is accessible, go to the teacher directly, clarify your doubts. Mananam is very important because I will not be able to digest spiritual information if I have doubts. The example very nicely given is if I have a glass of water, I'm about to drink it, but somebody says, just hold on one moment. I have a fear there is little contamination. Only 1% chance it may be contaminated. 99% there is no chance, but there is 1% chance. If there is a 1% chance my drink is contaminated by something, am I going to consume it? So even if there is a 1% doubt, I'm not going to consume any spiritual information. That is why teacher says, ask any amount of questions. Your knowledge should be the beauty or the problem of knowledge. Whenever you get knowledge, the teacher gives you knowledge. Along with the knowledge, doubt invariably comes. Our mind can be very good at creating doubts. So there will be doubts. And therefore, you need to be able to clarify doubts. Unless your doubt is clarified, you will not be able to go to the next step. Then there is this, again, as I said, this is the role of meditation. The role of meditation is the teacher will give you Nityaha, Shuddhaha, Buddhaha, Muktaha, Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivaswarupaha. The teacher will say, you are there for all periods of time. Just like when Krishnamurti died, Madam was able to say with all conviction. She knew that even though the death happened, it is not really death. My husband's body has been released, but he is Nityaha. Nitya, Shuddhaha, the real me is pure. Muktaha, the real me is free. Nityoham, Shuddhoham, Buddhoham. Buddhaha means I am of the nature of knowledge. I am Sakshi Swarupa. Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva Swarupa. This is the declaration of the spiritual teacher. When the spiritual teachers look at all of us, they will say, look, you are someone extraordinary, but you find yourself so limited in this body-mind complex. And the teachers are just waiting for us to give us an opportunity to get rid of these limitations. So this is our birthright. This is our possibility. And this is possible for all of us. People like Bhagwan, Ramana are so direct in their teaching. What is so direct about Ramana's teaching? One small child was brought to Bhagwan. The child had a serious disease. This was about 50, 60 years ago when there was no treatment for cancer. And he gives this child a little mantra, and the parents also, to keep chanting. And the mantra goes like this. Naham deham koham soham. I am not my body. This is what I would repeatedly say, the alpha and omega of Vedanta. Alpha is the first step. You have to understand the body is mine. I use this body to speak to you, to listen to you, to transact with the world. Wonderful. But I am someone with the body. And the great teacher like Ramana tells you directly, you are not the body. When he says, and if you trust him, then what happens? Koham. You will go into an inquiry with the help of a teacher who will help you to inquire. If I am not this body, then who am I? And then you get this Maha Mantra, Saha Aham Asmi, which is brought out in a short form. Saha means he, or God, or Brahman, Saha aham asmi is also called soham asmi. Initially, it can be just a mechanical repetition, but over a period of time, we have to have this understanding. And how do we have that understanding? That understanding, Vedanta gives you through a certain technique. The technique they give you is what is called Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhuti. Shruti means the scriptures. We cannot go to the scriptures directly. So the scriptures also, the spiritual teachers initially give you what is called yukti. If the teacher is giving you, I have told you the MBBS to MJBS. I have still not told you what is MJBS. Because if I tell you what is MJBS, it is not as per yukti. It is not logical. It is illogical. And when something is illogical, the teacher cannot give it to you right in the beginning. So the teacher will reserve the illogical knowledge till the very end. So the teachers will go by your own experience. The teachers will say, you had sleep. What happened during sleep? During the daytime, you had so many issues. What happens during sleep? I was watching my own father going through his terminal illness. He was sick with a heart disease, and he was in an ICU. And I could see him cough. His breathing had come down. He was requiring oxygen to breathe. And when the time to leave the body comes, a sense of insecurity will come. And when there is insecurity, you look around for some form of security. And he was wanting to ensure that I was around. And he would open his eyes to ensure that I was there. And with all the cough and all the bodily problems, suddenly I could see him go into a deep state of sleep, and he was snoring. And when he was asleep, for a moment, at least for him, all the worldly problems, death, disease, everything had disappeared. You will see what happens when you go to sleep. This world and all the problems of the world completely disappear. So the spiritual teachers make you go through your own experience of sleep, make you go through your own experience of dream, and try to bring in Anubhuti. Anubhuti is your own experience, and try to logically bring in spiritual wisdom. And once you are through Anubhuti, that means through your experience, through logic, then the teachers will introduce the words of the scriptures, and that is what is called Shruti. How do the teachers introduce you to the real you, who is someone other than the body? One of the techniques they use are prakriyas. These are all, prakriya means a technique. They say, look at your own photograph when you were small. Now, look at yourself now. And the question is, that child is also you, and you are also you. That body has undergone a metamorphosis. It has gone a complete change. And yet, there is something common between that child and you. Although almost every cell in that body has been replaced, it is still you. What is there in me that never undergoes change, even though my body has every 7 years, it has gone through a constant change. So we need to inquire, my body has undergone or is constantly going through changes, but I have, if someone asks you, one of the reasons we never feel we are getting old, whenever we go to a meeting, especially in a pandemic-like situation, when we meet your colleagues after a long time.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, sir. You kindly represent. I think it's gone off.
Oh, my slide is seen?
No, just now it went off because somebody entered into a presentation mode.
I have to stop sharing?
You have to stop and restart the sharing, sir. Please. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
Just a request, please do not, the participants, please do not press the present now button. It is meant only for the speaker.
Where is it? Is my screen seen now?
Coming up. Yes, now it's seen. Yeah.
All right. The question that we were working on is, my body has undergone so much changes, but I am still the same. When you meet people after a long time, the first reaction that you see is, my God, you're looking so old. You may not tell somebody else that you're looking so old. But we never realize we are also getting old, because we look at the bodies of other people and we log on to the embodied you who never undergoes. The real me never undergoes through any process of aging. There is no process of sickness. There is no death for the real me. And that is why we never feel we are getting old. The next is we go through various cycles of life. We go through deep sleep when the world has disappeared. When we sleep and dream, a new world is born, a completely new world. And if you really see, from where did this world come? This whole world has come from my mind. I have created a dream world. I have created a body for myself, and my body interacts with the world. And as long as the world is beautiful, the world is nice. The moment the dream becomes terrible, that is when we wake up. When we wake up from your dream, observe one thing. However terrible situation you might have been in the dream, some dog was chasing you, or some, you fell into a pit. When you wake up, whatever the situation in the dream has no impact whatsoever. Why? Because I am of a higher order of reality than the dream world. Now, whatever happens in the dream world, according to Vedanta, now even if you look into modern science, you are seeing a model of the brain and the sense organ, the eyes, and in front you see the orange and the green, that is the world in front of me. Now, how do I see the world? Because of my eyes. Because there is light is falling on the objects around me, that is coming into my eyes. From my eyes, there is an image formed in the retina of my two eyes. Next to the retina is a photosensitive layer, which is a transducer which changes light energy into electrical energy. And through a series of electrical responses, the information outside is transformed into my brain. And in my brain, it is converted into a thought. And I can see the whole world as a thought. In dreams, what do I see? I see a thought. In the whole world now, what am I seeing? Am I really seeing, or am I seeing only an image? Or am I seeing only a thought? And this was the brilliance of Adi Shankara in the Dakshinamurti Stotra. He says, Vishwam Darpana Drishya Mana Nagari. The whole world is only an imagery for all of us. And just like the dream world is only images, the real world, the so-called real world for me as consciousness is only imagery. Now, how much importance that I give to the images, how less importance I give to the one who's seeing all these images. The Vedanta says, give less importance, because it is like dream. It's like a dreamy stuff. Very, very difficult to make that shift. But that is why even when the teacher gives you the knowledge, it takes some years. Dream, we wake up from dream. But to say that this is a dream and to wake up from this dream, the whole of Vedanta is working on the second waking. We have heard that famous mantra, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, which says, from that which appears to be real, the whole world appears to be real. Vedanta says, this is just an appearance, just like dreamy world. The one who's seeing, not your brain, but that consciousness is called Atma. Upanishads and Vedanta talk of three levels of reality. One is the dream world, which is called the Pratibhasika. That is what is called Mithya. You will say it is Mithya. While you are in dream, you will swear it is real. You will say it is a dream only when you wake up. When you wake up, you don't need anybody to convince you. The moment you are awoken, your dream becomes insignificant. The world has disappeared. So Pratibhasika is lower when you wake up, and you wake up to this world, which is called Vyavaharika. Spiritual teachers say there is one more awakening to happen. If you want to get out of this cycle of Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, if you don't want to go back to that womb again, if you want to Praptasya Prapti, if you want to attain to Purnatva, if you want to get out of all forms of dukkha, they say move from Vyavahara to Paramarthika. And the whole next generation that we have is through the guidance of a spiritual teacher to go from the second world. So what we have deduced, whatever I see and experience is called mithya. Mithya is a lower order of reality. Now, who can say this world is mithya? Only someone who has discovered satya. When the sun of consciousness wakes up, when the teacher is able to reveal to you, the one who is seeing in you, the one who's listening in you, that is the real you. When the sun of consciousness wakes up, that is when the world is reduced to mithya. This is the whole journey, friends, from MBBS to MJBS. When Brahman becomes Satya, when the world of consciousness, when you anchor into the Brahman in you, and then you see that the world is mithya, your body mind is mithya, your family is mithya, your possessions are mithya, your whole world is now of a lower order. Does it mean that the lower order has to be disregarded? Not at all. The lower order, give the lower order its due. Just like an actor on the stage, the director is given a certain script to play. All of us have got a clearly pre-written script based upon our prarabdha karma, that this is what I have to do. If I don't play my role, my director is going to cut. He's going to penalize me. But as long as I play my role, nandati, nandati, nandati eva. So play your role, remembering all the time you are someone other than the role. The whole world has now been reduced to mithya when the sun of consciousness has, and this is what is called mithya jagat, when Brahma Satya, when the sun of consciousness has woken up. And that is where we say our whole journey is from MBBS to MJBS, when we really have to wake up. There was a lady looking outside her farmhouse. There was a long road at the end, and from the far end she could see a white horse. And the horse was galloping and galloping and galloping and coming closer. And as it came closer and closer, she saw a very handsome person driving that horse. And her eyes was transfixed on the rider. And before she could realize, the rider comes, grabs her, puts her on the horse, and now both of them are riding on that horse. And the scene is amazing. You see mountains, you see rivers. It is so beautiful. And as she was enjoying the ride and the scenery, she looks back at that handsome prince and says, where are you taking me to? And the prince says, madam, it's your dream. Friends, it's all our dream. All we need to do is wake up. As Vivekananda said, Uttishtata Jagrata, wake up, get up, prapya vara nibodhata, go to a realized person. Once you go to a realized, kshurasya dhara, the spiritual journey is like walking on a razor's edge, but it is possible. My guru, and this is what he has to say about his spiritual journey. And the spiritual journey, he says, is MJBS, Mithya Jagat Brahma Satya. According to Swami Paramarthananda ji, he's very clear about one thing. And he says, according to us, spiritual enlightenment is just this. It is a clear understanding of the Guru's verbal communication on Mithya Jagat Brahma Satyam, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. I am that. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful session. We have some time for question and answers. If there are any questions, participants may kindly type, or one by one unmute and ask. And after asking a question, please mute yourself again. Any questions from the participants of the satsang?
Can I ask? Namaste.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
This is Shiva from Bangalore. And the question I had was, Vedanta says obviously there's only one Advaita also say. But the doubt I have is the great Vallalar Ramalinga Adigarar, the Swamiji, who merged with, converted his body to the ultimate light. He quotes that the mukti, what even the great saints achieved. He says that's the first level, and he says you have to go beyond. I mean, he talks about the, if I can say in Tamil, the Parama Deham, Jnana Deham, and Aruruli Deham. He talks about 3 levels of Deham. So, how do you see in Advaita, the way Ramana dropped his body and was that on the stage, and where Vallalar says we have to go beyond this, and actually transmute the physical body also to the cosmic light, which he did apparently. That's my
question. The whole spiritual journey is actually nothing mystical. It is very, very ordinary. You will see the beauty of the whole spiritual journey is its ordinariness. There is nothing really mystical. There is nothing very extraordinary, because what we have to accomplish is the spiritual goal is not something that is going to happen in a particular day. It is not something that is going to happen in the future, or it is not something that is going to, it's not a happening. See, that is why they say, if I'll use a Sanskrit term, it is not a sadhyam, it is not a goal, it is a siddha vastu. Now, that is why we need to spend more time with certain teachers to be able to understand that if it is something that I have to do, then I can do. It is not something that I have to do. It is something to realize that I am already that. My identification with the body, my identification with the mind is that which brings about all these limitations. I am already that which I can possibly be. Now, teachers, through various examples, through various stories, they have to convey. And as I said, what we are talking requires jnana yogyata, it requires jnanam. That is the difficulty in Advaita Vedanta compared to many other paths. Many other paths can be given more easily, but Advaita Vedanta, as Swami Vivekananda said, Shurasya Dara. But, when the goal is as lofty as getting out, not getting back into the womb again. I don't want to get back into the womb, that punarapija. And there is a person who has realized, and he's able to tell you in very clear terms. See, it is like Bal Gangadhar Tilak said, Swaraj is your birthright and you shall have it. Make that clear decision that I am. And how I can reduce or give less importance to my body. My body is mine, but realize that I have lived in hundreds of bodies before. Just like I've got into so many sleep. Take it more like a drama. If this sort of understanding can happen, then we don't have to think it is something so mystical or something very magical. It has to be seen as something ordinary, something as possible.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So there's one question on chat. Can you please elaborate MJBS a little more?
All right. That's why MJ stands for Mithya Jagat. Now, normally, if you tell anybody that this world is not as real, they may be ready to slap your face because they'll say, you got the slap on your face. Isn't that real? What we're trying to say is the experiences are real. Everything is real. But who can say this world is Mithya? Only when the sun of consciousness has woken up. Only when you wake up into this world, you will say your dream is unreal. Otherwise, you will swear. Supposing let's say you are in dream. Normally, no gurus come in dream. all sorts of people may come. A guru will never come in your dream. Supposing a guru comes and tells you, now look, see, all this is only dreamy stuff. Whatever your problems is, you just have to wake up. Now, will anybody in a dream agree with the guru that this is dream? You will never agree until he gives you a slap and wakes you up. That is why gurus have their own techniques of waking us up. And sometimes the slaps will be very strong. It is not going to be physically slap, but they have their own techniques of uttishtata jagrata. So what is meant by mithya jagat? When Brahma Satyam is discovered, when you discover there is something higher, when you discover that I have lived in so many bodies in this life. Look at your own photographs. You have lived in so many bodies, but the one who is observing has not undergone any change. That one is the Brahma Satya. And when you anchor into that, your body becomes mithya, means not that it is not existent. Of course it is existent. This world is very useful for transaction. The world is very useful for entertainment. The world is very useful for education. Now, if I am hungry, I need to go to this world for food. For water, I go to this world. For everything, this world is required as long as I am in this body. So I'm not saying the world is not important, but when there is something of a higher order, then once you anchor to that, then the world becomes mithya. Mithya jagat means of a lower order. Remember, mithya jagat means my body is also mithya. And I need to negate my body also of a lower order. My mind is also lower order. That is what is called MJBS. And MJBS, Swami Paramarthananda, is anchored to saying that is spiritual enlightenment.
Thank you, sir. There's one more question in the chat box from Mrs. Meera. How can we confirm whether someone is realized person for the purpose to get guidance for our spiritual goal?
I'm seeing Swami Chidananda ji. I'm really moved by your presence, Swami ji. You have come here. See, how do we... It is not our, there is no tool anybody has to assess anybody else's enlightenment. There is no tool that we have. That is why when you go to a teacher, you go with Shraddha. Shraddha is a very loaded word. Shraddha means that once I believe this person, that this person is gospel truth. And so when you trust a person, and when your trust is so 100%, it is your trust that will take you further. There is no test. See, when you come from ignorance, how can you validate or invalidate somebody else? If you have to be somebody who is awarding the Nobel Prize, you have to be in such a level to be the one to select a person. Who are we to decide who is enlightened and who is not enlightened? That does not come into our domain of prerogative at all. But then intuitively you will connect to certain persons. Intuitively you will feel that this person is my guru. And when you feel that, then you allow that person to guide you.
Thank you, sir. There's one more question from Dr. Venkatachalapati. Is it good to get a dream?
We can't help it, no? There is no good or bad about it. See, Sigmund Freud has written extensively on interpretation of his dreams, which has been not given so much importance by subsequent teachers. According to Vedanta, and Vedanta has really capitalized more than Sigmund Freud on dream. Vedanta has done the greatest utilization of dream to bring this message of Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Because whatever, and the best thing that I, in my own experience, is the Mandukya Karikas of Gaudapadacharya, where he analyzes dream in every respect as equivalent to this world. So is it good to have a dream? Dreams happen. We cannot control about our dreams. Dreams happen. Let us not worry about our dreams. The only usefulness that we can see is When we wake up, we invalidate our dream experience. We know it was all in my head. It was all mind stuff. So too, this whole world, Vishwam Darpana Drishya Manana, this whole world is also similar. The more I'm able to train that this dream world and this world is similar. If I'm able to give, see that as different levels of reality. One level is Pratibhasika. Next higher level is Vyavaharika. As long as I have this body, the world is real as far as the body is concerned. But always remember, there is a higher order. I had mentioned about what is that which gives us all trouble in the world, whatever I give importance. So once the sun of consciousness is there in you, then what happens? The world becomes mithya. I give less importance to my body. I know my body is going through aging, sickness, death. When sickness comes, I go to the best of doctors, to the best of treatment. And when the best of doctors say there is no further treatment, I know that Prakriti has got its limitations. It will go through. And that ability to let go happens the more you're able to anchor into the Satyatvam.
Thank you, Doctor. We have just a minute more for one more question, probably, and then we can.
Swamiji can say a word about MJBS. I mean, I tried to. He's one of the greatest teachers of Vedanta. I heard him speak so fluently twice yesterday. Yesterday in the morning, we had been, Dr. Nagaraj is also there. And Namaskara, sir. We had been to his wonderful place, that Suvarnamukhi Ashram, where Swamiji spoke fluently on relationships and self-knowledge. And yesterday in this talk also about the light of meditation and awareness. Swamiji, some comments. I have dared to speak.
I also did not know that acronym MJBS, and Dr. Nagaraju and I both were wondering what this MJBS is. And Dr. Nagaraju himself is a physician, so all the more he is perplexed. Finally, what you said as Mithya Jagat and Brahma Satyam, that is indeed a beautiful, crisp summary of the ultimate understanding. So if one knows this Jagat to be Mithya, then one doesn't get caught in it. And if one knows Brahma to be Satya, one will be, I think, holding it so well. Like Markandeya held on to Shivalinga. As you and I get more clarity, I guess we will be holding on to Brahma and letting go of this ever-changing world in terms of our attachments. So MJBS was new to me too, because though I have heard a lot of Paramarthananji, it's not really a lot, quite a bit. I missed this. I never heard him give this acronym. So we are all happy about you are introducing this MJBS. Maybe next time you will give us MD also. Yeah, instead of MD, there will be something. No, instead of MBBS, we have MJBS. Instead of MD, there will be something. So this was delightful as well as educative. We appreciate it. Namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji, for the wonderful message and blessings. Thank you, Dr. Nagaraju, for joining us as well.
Thank you for your gracious presence. We are very happy that both of you are here. Also, I see Dr. Shobha Kiran was there. She's one of our speakers and a very popular person who conducts workshops everywhere.
Namaste, madam. Thank you for that. I'm much honored, privileged to listen to Dr. Hegde and Swamiji. I'm a great fan of Dr. Thimappa Hegde, and I'm so glad I'm here today.
Wonderful. We see Venkatesh Babu also. Welcome him into the audience.
So many people have joined. Thank you so much for joining. There may be people from Fawai Forum Also,
see
people,
Vivaji also from Powai.
And there may be many students of Dr. Thimappa Hegde who have joined today from his Gita classes and Upanishad classes.
We see Ravi Gerard from the School of Ancient Wisdom. Welcome, Ravi. We see Sajni also, both of them are trustees of the School of Ancient Wisdom. Welcome to both of them.
Dr. Saab, can I have a question?
Thank you, madam.
So, and there are 2 or 3 more questions, but unfortunately, I think we have.
You can read them.
I can just read out.
One question, Sarji.
Yeah, let me just read out the question that is already there. One from Srimati Kaveri Murthy. Sir, all that inhibits us from getting to moksha is unique to human form. All raga, dvesha, asuya, etc. Most animals live in the moment, go through lives without bondage, and don't build houses, attachments. No desire to make life miserable. Don't give importance to anything. So, are they already enlightened, or should we become like them? Somehow it is conflicting that you say human form is poised to reach moksha, but we have all impediments. Dr. Hegde, this is a question.
Very true. If you see a dog or a cow, they are in a state of one thing is missing: the agony, the anxiety, the fear of death. What shall I do for tomorrow? All that is missing. They are living in the moment. And you will see when a person becomes enlightened, they become more like that. The whole vision of spiritual enlightenment is to come to that state. Now, the glory of a human being is that we have this mind. That is why in one of the Upanishads it says, the same mind is the cause of bondage. Now, having been born as a human being, can we experience the glory of being human? The glory of human being is not to live the life of a buffalo or a cow or a dog. Of course, if you want to be free from bliss, even among humans, you will see people who are absolutely so materialistic. And they have, they seem to have a gala time. They eat, drink, enjoy, sleep well, and they're having a good time. They are not very different from animals at all. And some of them enjoy life also. And you will see a small class of people who are more sensitive are the people who suffer a lot. So this is part of human evolution. And when there is human evolution, Adi Shankara somewhere says, 3 things are there: Manushutvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha. When you have the glory of a human being, if you want to avoid that Punarapi Jananam, if you don't want to go back to the womb again, all right, there is a method. And the teacher has given you this. That one method is through the path of Vedanta. I'm not saying Vedanta is the only method. Vedanta is very systematic. Systematically, they will tell you through Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti. If we can spend years in some form of worldly education, why not spend a few years to break our heads to understand? Because this is the path of knowledge. Essentially, it is getting spiritual knowledge, is getting jnanam. And I can assure you, I have seen hundreds of people who have been with us, who have been able to understand these subtleties and whose lives are no longer that much of an agony, because somewhere, there is not that any one of us have enlightened at all, but we know that we are on the right path, that we know that the path is right for us, because we can definitely regress. See, going into drugs and going into alcohol always brings into a lower level, into a more of an animal life. But then that has its problems. When you have the human mind, the only way is to transcend. Use the mind to go beyond the mind. That is the only way. And when you go beyond the mind, in a way, you will be like the buffalo, like the cow, not affected by anything. You come into more of real time. That is the agony of being a human, and that is the glory of being human.
Dr. Saab, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
The Punarabi Jananam, Punarabi Maranam, that is only for Andhakarna. The Andhakarnam is the one which transmigrates birth to birth. Whereas I am Atma, I have no birth or no death. And my own Andhakarna is one among many, whereas as Atma, I am in everywhere. So why should I so much care for my Andhakarna getting birth and death and things like that? That was lingering in my mind for long.
If I can answer, what you said is absolutely right. You know, this, whatever we are speaking about, is only for the body and mind. And the more you disidentify from the body mind, the whole karma cycle, the whole stories are over. There is no rebirth at all for such a person who has disidentified from the body and identified. That means it does not even take a moment. It is this moment of disidentification. And then you are now not worried about whatever happens. You have gone beyond. You're absolutely right, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sir.
Thank you, Ramchandranji. I think he had also typed the question, but good that he's also able to speak up and ask the question. So I think we have had a wonderful session from Dr. Thimappa Hegde with so many questions, and I'm sure if we just allow for some more time, more questions will come. That is the beauty of the Vedantic approach. First listen to the truth and then clarify the understanding based on interactive question and answers. We are extremely apologize to break this session at this time because of the paucity of time, and we have to move on to, people have to move on to the other set of activities. So for Dr. Thimappa Hegde addressed this very intriguing topic from MBBS to MJBS with a very nice opening from the story of Buddha, and then went on to give us the 4 qualifications, the 4 Ds, Viveka, which is the discrimination, then the desire, which is the Mumukshatvam, and then the dispassion, and then finally the discipline, which is the Shat Sampatti. And then through various other stories of the dream and other examples that he took, finally what is meaningless, boring, and repetitive, burdensome, and struggle, then through a proper understanding of Jagat Mithya and Brahma Satya, life becomes joyful, Ananda and bliss. At the same time, we become completely aware. So a very nice journey, and through the prayer of Asatoma Sadgamaya, encapsulated with modern examples, quoting ancient principles from Vedanta. So for this wonderful session, we would like to offer our heartful pranams to Dr. Thimappa Hegde and our Pushpa Vrishti clap. We continue this series on the Festival of Self-Awareness tomorrow as well, for the 3rd day in this 7-day series. Tomorrow, Dr. Shirdi Prasad Tekur, who is a pediatrician and a life skills trainer, he will be taking the session on the title, From the Small Self to the Big Self. Again, a journey. It looks like there is a divine intervention to continue Dr. Hegde's session tomorrow, where Dr. Hegde also has given us a journey from MBBS to MJBS. Now, Dr. Shirdi Prasad Tekur will take us through from the small self to the big self. He is also an excellent speaker, a long-time associate of Meditation and Study Circle. And tomorrow's guest of honor will be Dr. A.V. Subramanya, who is a former principal of the Shimoga College of Engineering. He is also with us here today. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Subramanya ji. To this session tomorrow also, we cordially invite everyone to participate and take the benefit of the wisdom that is being shared by all the speakers in the festival. So with our so before we close with a Shanti mantra, I would just like to find out if Dr. Thimappa Hegde would like to take us through a meditation briefly for 4 or 5 minutes.
If people are still patient, we'll just sit in a comfortable position.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you, sir.
Wherever you're seated, keep your back upright. If you're sitting on a chair, keep your legs flat on the ground. Experience your contact with the ground. Feel the surface you are seated on. Feel the clothes on your body. Become aware of your breathing. Become aware of the gaps in your breathing between breathing in and breathing out. As Gautama Buddha gives a lot of importance to being aware of your breathing. Anapana Sati Yoga. If I'm doing nothing, just become aware of your breathing. I'm breathing in, there is a pause. Now I'm breathing out. Shift your attention to the gift of your body. Although this is the mithya body, it is a temporary body, it still helps me. It is the pole vault that helps me to get out of the whole mithya world. I relish, I value this body and mind. I will take care of this body and mind. But I'm here for one purpose. I'm here to discover my real self, which is someone other than my body, someone other than my mind. Someone because of which you are able to listen. Someone because of which your breathing and life is happening. As I'm able to speak, you're able to hear. Shift your attention from the words that you hear in the ears to that Deva or that divine principle we can call Sakshi or Atma, who is listening. Can I become aware of the one who is listening? Yogaratova, Bhogaratova, Sangaratova, Sanga Vihinaha, Yasya Brahmani Ramati Chittam, Nandati, Nandati, Nandateva. Whether I'm in this form of meditation or whether I'm doing anything worldly, whether I'm in the company of people whom I love, whether I'm alone, whether I'm in Sangha or Sangha Vihinaha, Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam. Can my mind anchor on that consciousness? Not just anchor, revel in that consciousness. Let me be so full in that sense of consciousness. And it does not matter where I am in Brahman all the time. I'm in meditation all the time. Gently open your eyes and revel at that Guru Tattva who has given us this understanding that we are already that we can possibly be.
Thank you, Dr. Thimappa Hegde, for this wonderful meditation session. Just one closing remark before we close today's session with Shanti Mantra. There have been requests on the chat box on how we can get additional information about the sessions. Please write to Vani at 96633 29799. I will repeat, 96633 29799. This is Vani Vasudev's number. You can send a WhatsApp and then we will add you onto the distribution list of our programs. For this wonderful session today by Dr. Thimappa Hegde, let us spend a minute in prayer and in silence, that the wonderful Jnana Yajna, the vibrations and the Jnana Phala, be available to everyone, all beings in all planes of the universe. Let us close our eyes. Let us breathe normally. Now let us chant Om once and Shanti Mantra 3 times. Inhale deeply. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu. We greatly value everyone's divine presence today. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Shubhamastu, Shubharatri.
Thank you so much for a mesmerizing session, sir. Amazing as always.
Yes, wonderful session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Vani.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Vani. Thank you,
Thank you,
Vasudev.
Dr. Hegde. Thank you, Vani and Vasudev. Very, very nice session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajni. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you,
Loved
Doctor.
it.
Thank you, Vani. Thank you, Vasudev.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Vani. Thank you, Vasudev. I acknowledge that they didn't get in here.